Hello and welcome to Bendy, a podcast about being flexible and all of the ways that means. Thanks for joining us. My name is Andy Young, and I'm one of your duplicitous, shady hosts. Joining me, as always, is our other duplicitous and shady host, Beth Martin. Beth, the pleasure as always. What's the crack?
Sounds like I know you said shady,
Yeah.
but it sounds like you said shitty.
Our duplicitous,
You're
shitty hosts.
duplicitous and shitty.
That's better. Let's go back. I'll take that again. I'll go with shitty. I really kind of set myself up for a fall there with duplicitous twice too. Like I really did. I'm just asking for trouble with that.
It's true. It's
You
true.
know,
Way to go. Way to fail right off
right?
the get.
I
Yeah.
know.
Uh-huh.
Yikes. But yeah.
So I realized I never actually finished the Queen's Gambit
Uh-huh.
because I was like, maybe I'll do a rewatch. And then I was like, wait a minute, there's like however many, like 7 episodes. I only
Yeah.
thought there were five or whatever. So I missed the last two episodes.
Mm-hmm.
So I like binged the whole thing in the last few days. And I was just like, I'd never seen the ending.
Mm-hmm.
Uh like her strolling, and now I'm gonna okay, no one's seen the Queen's Gambit last two episodes. You can stop, put your little earmuffs on. But like her what like number one, I kind of wanted her to be a druggie and a drunk the whole time
Mm-hmm.
and not like find redemption there because it was just like such an interesting part of her like care like lifelong story and
Yeah.
character arc, or whatever. Uh, but I did like the ending where, she like wins the thing, beats the Russians, and then she's walking through the park. She gets out of the car with the federal employee that's like, you need to do this and go on the show and blah blah blah. And then she's just like, no, I'm gonna walk. And he's like, you're gonna miss your flight back to the United States. And she's walking through the park, and all of the old men are sitting there in Russia, like playing chess, and
Mm.
they're all like, oh my gosh, Liz, Liz Harman. And then he, like they ask her to sit down and play with them. And I was like, that's like, there's so few perfect endings
Yeah.
to shows. And I was like, because like, right, it's like Game of Thrones, everyone's like, "Arr!"
Yeah.
And like, this was a good one. This was a
I
good
agree.
one. So if you haven't seen it, I just told you the ending,
Though,
but
like,
it's worth watching.
there's plenty
It
more.
came out in 2020,
Yeah,
so come
exactly.
on,
Get your shit
get with
together if
it.
you haven't seen Queen's Gambit. Like, but
Don't be shitty like Andy.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Don't be a shitty duplicitous. Oh no.
I did the
Ah,
hint.
I got it right the first few times, and now I'm going
Unique New
back to
York, unique New
unique
York.
New York.
You need
Duplicitous. There we go. I got it.
duplicitous. Say it like an
Um,
American.
no, never. Over my dead body. You know, I I love my American accent, which
Uh-huh.
is, something we're going to touch on at some point, at some
I
future episode.
know. I know.
Yeah, no, I love that show, and I mean, like, and I think it completely made me fall completely head over heels in love with Anya Taylor Joy as well. Which is for better for worse.
It's true. And I like watched it, and I was, because I've been ragging on her. I know, I
Yeah,
realized that. And I was like, Beth, like, look at where she came from. Look at what like that. And that really was what I think probably put her on the map. I
I
know
think
she's done
so.
a lot. And
I
she's
think,
also in all these like
mm,
animated movies. I didn't know that, but she's got that deep voice,
yeah,
and it like works so well for like voiceover work. So
it's true. She was
yeah.
like in, so there was like in the interim between Fox being bought over by Disney, there was a New Mutants movie made. Do you know of this?
No.
And like it was sat on the shelf for like about 5 or 6 years, and they eventually kind of like just gave it a half-hearted movie, like theater release. And she's in it. So like, but she
Mm-hmm.
filmed it whenever she was not really that big a name,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
she's playing a Russian. So there's like oh no, I'm gonna Ilyana Rasputin, I think. So
Oh,
she's
really?
yeah, she's playing this Russian character who can like open portals, called Magic. Is who's a mutant and an X-Man, and
I think I might have seen this.
yeah, it's kind of like a horror thing. It's set in like it's almost like a sort of institution, I guess, but an institution for mutants. And also Maisie Williams from Game of Thrones is
Mm-hmm.
in it as
Mm-hmm.
Wolfsbane,
Mm-hmm.
etc., etc. But like I think her voice worked really well with the Russian accent. This is back to Anya Taylor Joy. And this was another thing I remember watching and going,
She's
okay,
good.
she's one of the best things about that movie,
Yeah.
But yeah.
So
But yeah.
I guess all to say, you were right and I was wrong.
Yes. Still live in this moment for like 30 seconds or
I
so.
know, I know. So
Ah.
what's the crack with you?
So I yeah, so like over the past week I have been kind of wrapping up some of the pet therapy stuff that I've been doing. So like, just finishing off for the end of term. I'm not entirely done. I'm actually doing well, I'm not doing pet therapy, but I'm doing some yoga classes for one of my schools this week. So not entirely finished, but finished with the pet therapy for the year. And one of the places that I was doing pet therapy is a smaller, more rural primary school. I think I've talked about it before on here, and
Yeah.
they due to how things are going in this country, they kind of like were the amount of pupils that they had were dropping off. I think they ended up the entire school had 36 students in the end, which is not
Wow.
much for a school. And they were applying for funding and they were trying to get like there's a few kind of different sort of statuses to kind of help them kind of continue on, but they only got news at Christmas, around Christmas time there, that they were not getting the funding anymore and they were being closed at the end of the term. So they were having a sort of like a final sort of big bash day where, they were inviting parents and the pupils and stuff there, and they were having like all events and things like that. And they asked if I wanted to go along, so I brought Sash up, and we stayed. I'm busy as always, sadly, and I stayed for
Yes.
like about 45 minutes or so. But it was really bittersweet, because like I really loved that school, and they were great people, great kids and stuff. And it was lovely to see them all again. But it was also kind of like weird. I've been going there for like nearly 3 years now, and like
Yeah.
knowing that like I won't be back, and it won't exist. Like I was asking, where the rest of them are going, and it seemed like a lot of them had at least new roles and stuff to go to, but the building, they don't even know they're going to do with it. It's just, and like schools are like other schools are coming in to like go through their stuff and see what they want. It's just, I don't know, it was just a weird situation. But it was lovely to see them all again.
So enrollment dropped. Where did the kids go?
Like there are so like primary schools would also be what I guess elementary schools for you guys. So like
Yeah.
there are
Yep.
other larger ones. Like so like you mean this school is or this village is maybe a 10-minute drive from my town, and my town has
Gotcha.
a ton of primary schools. So a lot of them are going to those because I guess they're larger, they're probably better resourced. Um, so I think that's just what was happening. And I think the argument they were making was, especially for these smaller places, and I guess this is happening worldwide, like that school was such an integral kind of part of that village, it was the heart of it
Yeah.
in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
So it may have repercussions in terms of, how the village will be in the future and things like that. So it kind of sucks, but it's yeah, unfortunately the way these things are going these days.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah, it is.
It's weird too. It's like I worked for a school that got actually bought. It was a private school, but it got bought by a corporation,
hmm
which I didn't know you could do,
Oh
but
wow.
yeah. So it was like it was owned by my friend's mom, and I worked there in high school and in college, and then she sold it and retired, and but like the corporation came. It was like corporate takeover, but in a school setting. It was super weird, and it was like all the teachers were worried that they weren't gonna have a job, and then there were it was a cute little school that went from like pre-kindergarten, pre-K, I don't know what that is for you
hmm
guys, but
hmm
through like eighth grade. And they had a swimming pool, so like we taught the kids how to swim, and they filled the
Nice.
pool in, like the corporation like filled in the pool, and like got rid of there was this cute little old lady that made everyone like snacks and lunches, and like I would go in and help her, and they got rid of that, and they had like delivery come in, and it was just like um I kind of know what you're talking about in like a weird way.
Yeah, I think like it's just, it's, I suppose, a symptom of how this world's going and things like that, and
Yeah.
but yeah. But and that's definitely, sad news, but I'd say bittersweet news perhaps. But I have some excellent news.
What?
Last week, I had a new feature that I had said was irregular. Good news is we've got it 2 weeks in a row. Oh yeah.
Ooh, lay it on
So
us, Andy.
once again, this is Andy's down with the streets. My irregular feature. I wasn't allowed to call it semi-irregular feature because that was a hat in a hat. Um, so this one, and I like it, and I want to ask Beth a question to see if she can figure out what this is that I'm talking
Okay.
about. So, do you know if I was talking about a iota, what I would be talking about?
Can
A
you spell,
iota,
please? YOTA?
YOTA, yeah.
Yoda. I have no fucking clue.
So I'd get into my Yoda and I'd drive away.
Oh, you're a Toyota.
Yeah. Have you heard?
Okay.
I don't know if you've heard that. Well, it's the
So,
first time I've heard that abbreviation for Yoda. Somebody talking about getting into a Yoda, and it
yeah,
it
so
tickled me.
people will actually so you have the word Toyota on the back of the car, and they'll take the OTA away,
No
so it just says
way.
toy. Or they'll take the TO away, so it just says Yoda.
I love.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah. So
amazing.
it's totally a thing.
Okay, I didn't know it was a thing. Okay, this is just a new piece of news for me. Like,
If it was me and I actually have a Toyota, I just do OYO.
way I like it. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And people will be like, what the fuck are you talking about? And I'd be like, don't.
I I just don't think that's a thing people do over here. I think they'd be like, no, damage my
Yeah.
car. How could I? But
No,
I
it's
I
like,
love it.
oh yeah. It's like a not a cult, but like if you have a Toyota, it's like you're in with
The Yoda
the people
squad.
that have like, yeah, they've got like the snorkel. Do you guys have snorkels and you go
Yes.
mudding? Yeah, like that kind of crowd.
It's like I think I told you about before the in that John Wilson show, and he was behind a guy who essentially had I can't remember, it was some sort of flatbed truck, and he had like a stack in the flatbed truck that took up about a third of it that was just spewing out extra fumes. So like he saw him pull over at like a petrol station and started tatted him and asked him about it. And he said, "Look, can I come and talk to you a bit more about this?" And went back to the guy's house. And it was really funny because the guy was like talking a bit about it. And like you could see in real time as he explained it, him knowing how disgusting it was, how ridiculous it was, and like he could not possibly justify it. And it was really because like John Wilson was, technically interviewing him, but he was saying nothing. He was just letting the guy talk and like, hang
Just
himself with his own rope,
yes, yes, yes.
Oh,
Car
people.
car culture.
Oh man. So yeah. But that's yeah, at least I'm with the streets for this week. As I say, it may return. It almost certainly will. But as a surprise, it's the best
Like
way.
next, yeah, just like today.
Yeah, exactly.
Everyone's like hanging on with bated breath to see what
Yeah, 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 yeah. People can't
how
wait
hip
it.
you are.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, they already think I'm pretty hip
Hip as
now,
me. I know, I know, I know.
right? I can only go from
So,
here.
um, anything else
I know no more
cracking?
what's a crack, but yeah. Do you have any what's occurring?
I do. I just want to remind folks that we have merch on our website that I'm going to be updating. So by the
Ooh,
time this comes out, I will have some summerish type of merch.
nice.
So just go to our website at bendypodcast.com and feel free to buy
I need to buy some.
obscure
Yeah, the only like
things that only Bendy listeners would know about.
amazing. The um,
Just get
I
a shirt that says Yoda.
you the squad.
Uh,
Um, I guess I have a bit of feedback on one of our past episodes. My friend reached out to me and he was talking about he was listening to our episode. We were talking about challengers,
Mhm.
and he was saying that his Luca movie that kind of that he had a similar reaction to you with challengers was Bones and All. How he had seen Call Me by Your Name, thought it was a masterpiece, and then expecting some similar from like Bones and All, was kind of quite disappointed with it. Have you seen Bones
I
and
saw
All?
Bones and All.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's Armie Hammer and Timothy Chalamet, right?
No, Bones and All is the second. No, so Call Me by Your Name is the Army Hammer Chalamet
Bones and
one.
All is Timothy Chalamet and Taylor. Mind Garden me, Andy.
I'm on it. Hold on.
She's dating or was dating Harry Styles. And it's a cannibalism movie.
Taylor Russell.
Russell, right?
Oh, what are the other
So yeah, I
films?
did see it. I did like it. It was kind of like, I guess, I of the three, now that I've seen, now that I'm a connoisseur, I would say
Sure.
my favorite is still Call Me by Your Name, but I did like Bones and All more than I liked Challengers.
Okay.
So if I
I
had to
need.
rank,
Uh-huh.
you just got to see it.
Okay, I think I need it. I will definitely watch it. It's definitely high on my list
Yeah,
at the
it's
minute.
time.
Like I did watch so like the podcast I'm listening to is covering Martin Brest at the minute. And so like he's not a director I really think of, but then you go through his like list of movies and you're like, wow. So like he directed the first Beverly Hills Cop, he directed Midnight Run,
Oh wow.
he
Uh-huh.
then did Scent of a Woman. But
Son of
like
a Woman.
but then
Didn't he win
his
Best
sorry?
Picture?
I
I
think
think Son of
he
a Woman won some
I
awards.
think it did. I think it did. But like
Oh,
he,
also the masterpiece Geely.
I was gonna say that's how that ended his career. And I mean,
It
what a
did.
fascinating career arc, you know. So they're going
Wow.
through it at the minute. They just covered Midnight Run, so I rewatched it and it was great fun. Such a good time.
Wonderful.
Yeah, it really
Uh
was.
Geely though.
I
I
know.
watched Son of a Woman last year for the first time and I was
Hmm.
like, I love Al Pacino.
Yeah.
I just do.
I it's been ooh, maybe 30 years since I've seen it, so I barely
Yeah.
remember it. But yeah, I remember enjoying it at the time. It's like really, it's got some nice, really kind of big Pacino, which is always fun.
Yes. He's aging like a hedgehog. Like that's what he reminds me of when I look at him. And like granted he's just an attractive human being,
Yeah.
but like now is like an attractive human being that's looks like an elderly hedgehog.
You know, you're gonna age into an animal. Hedgehog's
Right?
not terrible.
It's not.
Not a terrible one.
Do you want to jump into our topic?
Yeah,
Or are we
let's do
gonna
it.
just not actually talk about it at all? And people
No,
are gonna
let's
be
jump
like,
into
those lying liars. They didn't even talk about
it.
lying.
So, I mean, that would be the perfect, rug pull to talk about an episode about lying and then, be lying about
But
that.
only,
But
yeah, or talk about honesty, and then they'll be like, are they lying
are they? Why are they lying?
though?
Are they though? So yeah, so this episode, this week is about lying. It's called Lying Liars. We're just going to talk about lying. It's something that I was thinking about recently and like how kind of omnipresent it is through like all of life and felt like
Yeah,
it would be good to have we chat about it,
yeah,
right?
right. I think was it like political stuff? Not that we're gonna get into that, but was it like what brought it to the
That's
forefront
a
of your brain and you
good
were like,
question.
this is a good pod topic.
I don't remember what it was. I think it was probably no, I think I know what it was. So it was something that occurred to me, like a piece of behavior I observed in myself, which is that I will often lie about things in like white lies about things in my own life if I want to
Hmm.
escape judgment, right? Because
Hmm.
um I an observation that I have had just in terms of my life is that I see a lot of people who get judgment, especially guys, and I'm thinking of a lot of guys that I know or have known. If they get judgment, it's kind of greeted with an "oh yeah," like what's this sort of thing. It's like you think I'm like this, actually I'm like this, and kind of maybe pushes them a bit harder. That's just kind of based on my like surface level observation of knowing people and stuff. Whereas when I get a judgment, a lot of the times how my brain processes it is by going, you see, that real world proof that you're looking for.
Gotcha.
This is it. So
Jesus Christ, Andy.
yeah, I know it's not good, like, but so like that is why I kind of oftentimes will be like, so something that I lied about recently was that I backslid on my weed smoking thing for like a couple of sessions, and I know that I can talk to you about it, I can talk to other people, certain other people about it, and they won't like judge me for it, but I know other people will be like, well, I thought you had stopped
Uh,
smoking weed, you know what I mean? And that would just, be very kind of demoralizing for me, honestly. And I'm just like, I don't need that. There's no value in it for me.
so do
Um,
you lie or do you just omit?
if I'm asked, it depends who's asking, of course. But like, if I was asked directly, I would flat out lie and say, no, I've
Yeah,
stayed the course.
yeah.
Uh,
That's okay.
I
And you're
know,
exalted. Yeah, I know
I'm
you know.
kind of like I don't really regret that or doing that, because I just kind of know how I kind of have to like protect myself in a way, and it's not like I'm doing it over anything that's going to hurt anybody else. It's purely out for my own sort of things.
Mhm.
But that is what kind of made me think, oh, that's interesting, an
Mhm.
interesting topic to talk about.
Mhm. And you were noticing. I always love like, you know, self-observation where you're
Yeah.
like, you put yourself out of yourself and you're like, well, this is interesting, right? And like, huh,
Yeah.
like roll that around a little bit.
Yes.
So in general, like, what is your stance on lying?
I mean, I think I'm in the, Casablanca camp, like some little white lies are probably essential to like maintain
The
sanity,
Casablanca camp.
right? The way he tells a beautiful lie at the end. Just because I like like I think that like I mean my sort of opinion is that like um truth is often brutal and fairly unforgiving. And I think a lot of people have an idea that they want truth, but they don't really. What they want is like something with a truth equality, something that
Yeah.
like sounds like it might be true, but just kind of reinforces your own prejudices and things like that, and kind of keeps you safe and comfortable rather than, you know, challenging anything in any major way.
Hmm.
What about yourself?
I'm a Libra,
Hmm.
so that means I want everyone to get along and I
Hmm.
want there to be balance and peace in the world. And so I think, though there's two sides of that, I guess, like the me that's me and me that's not like parenting tiny humans.
Hmm.
Um, like I'll omit information or I don't actively like go out and like I'm not like, oh, I'm totally gonna go lie about this thing, but I'll
Sure.
definitely if I notice it with myself when I like don't want to do something, or if
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
like I don't want to go do this event, then I'll lie and be like, I won't just be like, hey, yeah, this doesn't sound like something I'm into. I
Yeah.
won't say that. I'll just be like, no, I'm sorry, I have other plans, or we've got dinner plans that day, and like it's not true at all. I
Yeah.
just don't want to do the thing, but I don't want to hurt the other person's feelings.
Yes.
So that's when I tend to lie, is when
It's
like
like,
I feel that I don't want to hurt someone's feelings or make them
yes.
feel a certain way, and then it just like comes out of my mouth.
It's like equal protection for like both you and for other people, sort of thing.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
and it really has to do with like doing stuff.
Yes, I totally hear you. And like I think that my attitude with that a lot of the time, because I have like got into trouble with that before in terms of like I have been like, here's my excuse, and people are like, okay, how can we like get around
Yeah.
this excuse? How can we like deal with
Yes.
this issue that you're having so we can still get you to come?
Yeah.
So now, and I've only adopted this over in the past 4 or 5 years, I'm basically like, sorry, I can't make it. Bye.
Yeah. And that's
Apology.
really all that's all they need.
That's all
They
I
don't
need.
need more than that,
And
right?
it makes life so much easier, So like, and I'm definitely much happier adopting that position because it just keeps things cleaner. And like, but you're because like I think and again, I am again, guys in my life I have known as well. All too often kind of want to kind of solve things. Do you know what I mean? So like
Yeah.
if you kind of tell them what the problem is, they're like, okay, how can we solve this problem and get you here, sort of thing. And I'm like,
Yeah.
no, I just don't
I
want to
don't want to
go.
go.
I
I
just
just
don't
don't
want
want
to go.
to
Leave me alone.
go. So then I have the side of me that's the parent, right?
Hmm.
And trying to teach honesty in my
Yeah.
kids. And that is like like obviously they always know where I am and what I'm doing, so I can't lie about that.
That's
Like, do
true.
you want to play Lego? Sorry, I'm busy.
Yeah,
Like
no,
doing
in the
what?
middle of something, you're looking at your
Scrolling
phone, you're
on
like,
my
yeah.
phone. So like trying to raise truth tellers
Yeah.
is kind of my MO. And I hate it when they're old enough that they're starting to like actively lie about things,
Yeah.
silly things like, did you brush your teeth? Yeah. All right, let me smell your breath. Oh, I forgot, right? Did you wash your hands? Yeah. Oh, let me feel them. Oh, I forgot, right? But also like starting to be bigger things. I hid candy in my room,
Uh-huh.
so I'm trying to, and like as we know, like small lies become bigger lies,
Yes.
but I also think it's a learned behavior where you tell a small lie and you get away with it, and
And
then
you're
you're
like,
like, well, can I tell a bigger lie and get away with it, and tell a bigger lie and get away with it, and tell a
yeah,
bigger lie and get away with it? So like in the house, I'm just like, we don't lie, we always
yeah,
tell the truth. And like with the kids, and like I'm just like, I wish this was the case with everyone, but our party line is, if you tell the truth, you won't get in trouble.
yeah, yeah,
And then you extrapolate that, right? And you're like, what if that was just the case in
yeah.
our culture? Like if you told the truth, you wouldn't get in trouble.
Yeah, that would be very interesting. Like it would be so nice, but like it's just yeah. And I mean, obviously, there'd be some issues with depending on the severity of the lie or depending on the severity of the act that was being lied about as well.
Right, right.
Like I think as well, what's interesting with kids, especially, is that I think you're 100% right, and certainly, the kids I deal with and stuff like that, I'm, very much the same. But like, there's things like, belief in Santa Claus and things like that, which is like a bit of kind of magic, and that's a lie, right? But it's also kind of a lie to
Hmm.
kind of like prolong the kind of magic and the kind of innocence of childhood. So I think
Hmm.
that's it's good overall. Um, it's
I have friends that have never told the lie and have always been like, oh, it's this made up thing that people believe in. And like hard party line right there is like, we don't lie to our kids, and like, so we tell them the truth about all the
yeah,
things. And I'm like, it's different for everyone, but
yeah,
having been one that believed in Santa Claus, like it's so great.
it is.
It's the coolest thing ever.
It is.
And like a tooth fairy, and
Yes.
the bunny rabbit never quite made sense to me because
No.
it doesn't make sense.
And he doesn't give you any good loot either. Do you know what I mean? I mean,
No.
maybe you get like an egg or something, but it's like
Yeah.
whatever. But like,
Yeah.
do you like with the tooth fairy? Is it the same for you guys where you would put the tooth underneath the pillow and then you'd wake up and it'd be? We would normally get money. I don't know if that's the
Yeah.
same. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. You get money. And like
yeah,
when I was a kid, it was like a quarter,
yeah.
but now it's like,
Two
inflation.
two hundred
So the tooth
dollars.
fairy
Yeah.
gets like, I know, right? It's just an IOU.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, yeah. Like
I owe
one.
you $100 in your college fund.
I owe you
Love the
one.
tooth fairy.
I owe you one Yoda.
When you turn 16.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's it's so interesting, and we had ended up in the setup sort of to coming into this episode, we ended up talking about this a little bit, and like
Mhm.
how. And I think we're kind of like, as a society, starting to pay the cost of it now in terms of like how much lying is going on in terms of the people that lead us and things like that, and politicians generally. And like, I think both the UK and the US have had politicians who've been like, whoa, actually, nothing matters. I can just say whatever I want and it doesn't, people are going to believe it. And I think that's kind of I suppose, like, it feels like there's with and certainly in my opinion, there's almost like a social contract to lying that there was certain you didn't kind of go past a certain point, and I feel like the doors have kind of been blown off that in the past like 10 or 20 years, which has set a dangerous precedent, I think.
I think I've said this before, but the term that I hate the most, I think
Uh-huh.
ever, is fake news.
Yes, it's a bad one.
Is which is lying.
Yes,
It's not fake news, it's just flat out lying. So,
yeah,
like, but it like roll it a different way, spin it a different way, and then it's not as bad
yeah,
or something,
yes.
something.
And I think that there's so much of that sort of rebranding of like fucked up positions that it's like, oh no, actually, this is whatever. I'm not going to get too deep into this because it's like,
Yeah,
I feel like it could get into dangerous ground.
yeah.
But like, I know that, certainly you do see a lot of that, in recent years as well, whereas it's like there is something that is bad and it is almost universally seen as bad, like certain concepts and things. And as I say, they've just, taken a shiny new coat of paint and and what was old is new again and is it's still somehow mainstream and acceptable. It's just crazy.
Yeah. And yeah, again, like I absolutely agree. I also think a lot about history, and I've always kind of thought of history and like history books and like the retelling of things. It's just gossip, right?
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it's like this
Yeah.
story about like Alexander the Great and blah blah blah. And it's like the reasons, like, but all of that, like all of what we have started off as oral tradition.
Yeah.
And like, do you guys play the game Telephone?
I
Have we talked about this?
I don't think I know that name, but I don't think I know exactly how it works.
So it's a children's game where you all sit in a circle,
Hmm.
and one person thinks of like a word or a phrase and whispers it to the next person, and then they
Yes.
whisper it, and then the person sitting next to the person that started the word or phrase says whatever has been repeated in their ear, and you find that it could be like 5 or 10 people. It's
Yes.
completely different. So I think of that in terms of like even the things that we've been taught and like taught to believe, and why things are the way they are, and who these people were and why they matter. And it's like part of me is like, really, how much of
Yeah.
this is lies?
Like, and like, embellishment, like, like juicing up stories and stuff like that certainly isn't a new thing. So it's like it's almost
Mhm.
certainly happening was happening
Mhm.
thousands of years ago as well.
Of course it was.
You know,
So it's
it's
like it's all lies, Andy.
it
It's all
is
lies.
all of
Everything
it.
we oh, it's all built on lies.
But I think,
But it's built.
this is true. It is built, and there's still like, there is some structure and there is some, there are facts exist. I think, there's some provable stuff, and like uh, um I think even if some people don't believe that certain facts are facts, they there is some quantifiable stuff out there, Um, but yeah, it's such an interesting one. I like what I was thinking when I was kind of putting this together as well was that like I think it goes back to what we were talking about, and like I was talking about the Casablanca thing. I think lying can also be like noble. It can be decent. It
Mhm.
can be the right thing to do under certain circumstance. I think it might even be morally correct, depending on, you know, whatever you think morals are. But you know what I mean? It can be the morally
Mhm.
right thing to do under certain circumstances as well. And I
Mhm.
feel like that is so at odds with how most of us think about how the world works, you know? And whenever like everybody's kind of trying to like self-police that, it's like, I don't know, you just don't know where the lines are drawn anymore. It's a weird one.
Do you have any examples?
Um, I'm gonna go back to my Casablanca lie. Where it was to
Yeah.
protect somebody's feelings and their life and their kind of, you know, vision of how the world works. I'm sure I could think of some modern stuff. I've been thinking about Casablanca too much, I guess. But like I'm sure there are other kind of modern ones, you know. Like I see stuff that where it's like, you know, trying to save people's feelings or, you know, uh, um there are oh no, that's maybe a wee bit too dark, but like I feel like there's a lot of people that are kind of told news about things that are going on to loved ones to kind of reassure them and keep them in a kind of stable
Yeah.
place, you know. And I think that
Yeah.
I think that that's overall the best way to deal with those things, you know.
Yeah.
um it can be quite.
So, so here's an interesting one.
Hmm.
So I just watched a documentary. It's called 30. Netflix is doing this thing. It's called 30 for 30.
Oh yeah. Hmm.
And okay, so they did one on Lance Armstrong,
Yes.
who created not a, so he created probably the most robust cancer association nonprofit that's like live strong, right?
Yes.
That is
Hmm.
still a thing. So out of, someone that won the Tour de France, what, 7 times,
Yeah.
and lied about, everything and what he was
Everything.
doing and all of that, yet he was able to bring out of those lies, he in America, no one, I mean, outside of a few small group of people, knew what the Tour de France even was,
Yeah.
right? Or knew that cycling was a thing. And cycling became very popular in the United States because of that. And so it really highlighted the sport. It also highlighted the need for cancer research. And so it's like, I think the hard thing is that a lot of times, like out of a lie or several thousands of lies, good things actually can come.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that is, yeah, that's a really good one actually. And I think that is like such a you know, and it makes the whole subject such a difficult one to get like any sort of, you know, clear-cut instructions on, you know. Like the one that I had thought about, and it certainly wasn't a noble lie in terms of like how far a lie can go. Because I think it was probably last year. I can't remember the name of the series, but you know, Elizabeth Holmes who opened
Oh, yes.
Theranos.
Yes.
Well, I can't. You know that there was a show. I can't remember what the show was called, but anyway, I'm sure people are
It
screaming
was
that
with
blood something.
so yeah, so it was with Amanda Siegfried.
Yes, it was. um.
So Elizabeth Holmes basically was a tech bro genius
Mhm.
as a woman, and kind of went the Steve. Did she even graduate from college? She dropped out. I
I
can't
think she
remember.
dropped out, but I can't remember.
Yeah, and then like dressed like Steve Jobs, like in the turtleneck and everything, and then had this idea to create a machine that would take like a drop of blood out of your finger and then
Hmm.
would able
Hmm.
to like diagnose you on like 150 different things out of like Walgreens or like, I don't know, like 7-Eleven or whatever you guys have
Yep.
over there. So
And like basically it never worked, and they like went right to the top of it. Like they became one of the major companies. I think I can't remember. There was a blue chip stock or whatever, that sort of like level where it was like billions of dollars of investment and things like that in a piece of technology that never worked. And it's so like interesting how it can get that far, you know, like how
yeah,
it's crazy to me, and like
yeah,
how people will like double down, triple down, quadruple down, they'll just keep going rather than actually kind of like walk it back. And like I think that's such a particularly like damaging one because this was to do with people's health. So like it's particularly kind of like dodgy and bad really that you're kind of messing with those expectations and also with like diagnoses which are like so
Yeah,
key, especially getting them early is it's not good. But yeah,
no.
such a fascinating like and it's one of those things that I remember this idea that especially as we become more collective with the internet and things like that, that it's easier to like fact check this stuff and it's easier to kind of like catch this sort of thing out, and it really isn't. If somebody is telling you with every part of them that they are telling you the truth, it's very hard to kind of see the reality of that a lot of the time.
Can we talk about artificial intelligence?
Yeah, let's do it.
So I read something the other day where some guy that understands AI far better than I ever will be able to
Mhm.
said, no matter like the most important thing, because it's here, right? It's like, it's not that we're like fighting the idea that of AI as a concept, like it's already here. It's
Yeah,
like integrated in all the things, whether or not we ask for it to be.
yeah,
Can you tell I'm excited about it?
yeah.
Um, but basically he was like, you need to fact check your AI always.
Interesting.
So not only fact check the news, but fact check the little helper that's, named Gemini or whatever. Which like Gemini, don't even get me started on the idea of why that's a bad name for an AI,
Yeah,
because, Geminis are the two-face. Are
it's
you a
true.
Gemini?
That's your boy. Hmm.
Shit. Really?
Yep.
You're a Gemini?
Everybody's surprised at that. I think like, and it's interesting because I've had
You're not
conversations.
crazy.
I know. Well, I am crazy. I'm just like
You're just the right amount
nice
of all the
crazy.
things.
Yeah, yeah. I'm aware
I'm
of
just
it,
nice crazy.
Like I think, and it's in because like I have had because when you were talking about your star sign earlier, I was going to bring it up because like people have been surprised because like other Geminis they know have been had two sort of like sides to them and can be kind of explosive. And I think that like I definitely do. Do you know what I mean? And I feel like there is, a side of me that I have ended up talking about on here a lot. Do you know what I mean? Like because I feel like there is, and I think I talked about it in relation to the choir and stuff like that where people had said, "Oh, it's so nice to have somebody so positive and and such great energy here." And I'm like thinking to myself, it's incredible that you see that because I don't think I'm that person at all. A lot of I can say something, you know what I mean? Like, but like that is, I think, my version of the Gemini thing, whereas I have this outward appearance that is that people think is positive and happy and blah blah blah. Whereas, on the inside it can be quite the opposite a lot of the time.
That's very interesting. That's a very interesting observation about yourself,
Mm,
because most Geminis, it's almost like it's not that they, I mean, I'm obviously making
generalization, yeah.
swathing
Yeah.
generalizations, and forgive me, but um the Geminis that I have known that have shown their Gemini side, it's very external. Like both sides
Mm.
are very external,
Oh, interesting.
and yours are very internal.
Yeah, definitely.
Huh.
Yeah. I think like I say everybody I know who knows star signs is always really surprised when they hear MHM. And
Yeah.
like most of the ones who know that probably know about like some of my mental health struggles as well,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
they kind of are like, oh yeah, I can kind of when they think about it a little bit, they're like, oh, I can kind of see it now.
Have you had like a full astrology reading ever?
I don't believe so, no. I have had like, I mean, I've had my friend asked me like I got my birth time, my
Birth
friend.
time, birth
Yep.
location.
Birth
Yep.
location, and she was able to give me I can't remember what it was now off the top of my head, but I have it somewhere. Like so my actual whatever rising or
Rising. And I will say like those things do matter. And like
yeah
we're all the things,
yeah
like so, but
yeah
that's interesting. You're
isn't it?
you're like an internalized Gemini.
Yeah, yeah,
What a struggle, dude.
right. So much fun.
But it's so great for the rest of us.
Good. I'm so happy for you guys.
I know.
Um,
So, back to lying.
Sure.
Um, has lying changed as you've gotten older?
Yeah, like I think I am I think the sort of the thing that made me that I talked about at the top of the episode that made me think about this topic is probably less common now, but like it's just because it happened and I did it so like automatically that I was like, huh, that's interesting. Whereas I think I just don't if I like I think I would have told a lie more often in the past to get out of things or to just you know, avoid having to have a conversation or things like that. Whereas I think I'm better in terms of setting up boundaries and things like that for just kind of going, no, I don't want to do that, or you're just saying I can't do that. Sorry, bye, sort of thing. I'm better at just kind of disconnecting from those things when I need to, rather than going. I think when I was younger, I would have definitely just made up something, which
Yeah,
never worked out great.
right.
What about you?
I think I'm better at having truth in there somewhere,
Yeah.
right? Like, oh, we can't do that because, the kids have some events happening. And like I can think of like several instances actually where I blame the children. Not really, but probably I think it's more like, oh, we're gonna be out of town, but like that's not true. We're only gonna be out of town for like a half of a day of
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah. But
whatever,
like
right? So it's
the
like,
it's technically
but
correct.
technically,
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
where I'm
yeah, yeah,
at.
yeah, yeah,
I'm
yeah.
in it's technically like technically correct, technically the truth,
Hmm.
as
It's
opposed to like, yeah,
the amazing meme from Futurama, which is technically correct, the best kind of correct. I don't know if you've seen
right.
that
No,
one. I
but
want to send
that's
it to you.
me.
Yeah.
That's me. Like
Ah,
as long as there's
technically
some
correct.
some truth in there, then I'm okay with it.
Exactly. Yes. Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
that like makes me feel good
Yeah.
enough about
From a
myself that
certain
I'm
perspective, this is yeah, I know exactly what you mean. And I've
that's so fucked up.
absolutely been there. But I don't think it is fucked up. I think it's very common, I really do. And I think it's like it's just I think about finding the balance. Like all things, right? It's about finding the balance with it, do you know what I mean? And like not doing it too much. Or maybe if you are, maybe like bringing some attention to it and going, huh, in what ways can I minimize this in my life? It's definitely something, and I mean like I'm a big fan of therapy. It's definitely something that therapy kind of helped me with in terms of going, like,
Hmm.
why am I doing this? Like, why?
Hmm.
It's not good for me, really. It's not helping me. And I do,
Hmm.
and like, I also feel very guilty about, things all the time for like no good reason. So, like, lying's
Same.
definitely one of those things when I have lied.
Yeah.
And it's like, lying as an automatic reaction, Um, so it has been a useful kind of challenge in those things. But like I will never. I think it's still sadly, and it kind of breaks my heart that it is still a valuable tool in most kind of adult humans, toolboxes, really, for navigating modern society. Um,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah. Yes. And it's like I look at I like I was thinking about it today and I was like, all right, look at the news and just see like how much of the news is based on lies that have been told.
yes,
And like these people are in trouble because of their lies. And it's just like I would say half of what's out there right now is because either omission or J Lo and Ben Affleck getting divorced. We don't know
oh
because
please no,
I know, please no,
oh
but it's
please
like
guys, do it again.
I know. But it's like that's omission, right? They're not
Yeah,
telling us what's going on, so that's news. Or, like um Princess Catherine with her cancer, like what's going on? Like we
yeah,
forced that out of her. And that was omission. Or like, and this
yeah,
is going farther back, but like Rachel Dolezal, did you hear about her?
yes, hmm,
She was a white woman that was pretending to be African American.
yep.
And so like that's a lie that made the news and also made a Netflix documentary.
Like
So
I think one of the most dangerous things I mean, like, I suppose it's always been this way, but like, I feel like with the advent of mass media, internet, and things like that, is
yes,
that like
yes.
how easy it is to monetize lying. And
Yeah. Well, and how
that's
much we love
scary.
it.
Yeah. Like, I think that most a lot of humans, not most, but like a lot of humans kind of just want like a beautiful lie, something that kind of absolves themselves of any kind of, feelings of guilt or like culpability, but instead blames
There's
it
some
on.
religious things I could say right now that I'm
Yeah,
not
I
going
know.
to.
But instead blames them on, and like they talk about that's why like in a lot of this stuff, so groups or things that people don't really know too much about often get blamed because you can put all your sort of negative feelings into these things you don't understand because for all
Yeah,
they might be like this. I mean, like, it's probably not true, but like, as long as you remain willfully ignorant enough, you can like blame all your problems on, you know, throw a dart, that group, you
yeah,
know?
yeah,
It's
yeah.
interesting.
And okay, so have you been around people that consistently lie? And like, how
Yeah.
did that make you feel?
I had a friend who used to lie. And like I think this is probably common as kids. Everybody really had a friend who like told these like fantastic tales like about things that went on in their life. I was trying to think about this today and I couldn't remember any of his stories in particular, but I had one guy who used to like have the big ones like having an uncle who like introduced him to a celebrity or got them playing the new Nintendo early or things like that. And it was things of that ilk, and it was a lot of that
Mhm.
sort of stuff. And I think I've spoken to other people who've had a common sort of experiences like that. They've also had friends, and like I think that's almost certainly a bit of a cry for help, and and I think the commonality that I've seen, and I don't think this is the case for all of these kids, is that like kids, single child families, a lot of the times, I've seen that more commonly in those sorts of kids, But again,
Mhm.
I've met some other kind of kids like that who don't do that.
Mhm. Yeah, I've been in a relationship with a
Mm,
person that lied all the time. And it
yeah,
was like, and they would be like, I'm not lying. What are you talking about? And it was driving me insane.
yeah.
It was
It's
driving me insane
gaslighting
to
essentially,
the
because
point
and
where I
then
was,
that's what exactly what it is.
literally, that's, yeah,
And
yeah.
it's
And
I
it's,
hate that. Yeah, sorry.
yeah, no, it's startling. And so what it became was like this quest for truth. So it'd be like like actively like digging into things and like looking at things that I shouldn't have been looking at,
Yeah,
just so I could like find the truth and be like, I'm not crazy, and B, like, it's feeding that like I'm right, because I wanted to know like where's the line between right and wrong? Am
yeah,
I wrong or am I right? And it mattered because I couldn't, there was no ground underneath my feet, if that makes sense.
yeah, 100%. And that makes
So
you
I was
feel like
always
you,
trying to like just find something just that I could actually stand on.
yeah. And like
So,
I that pisses me off. I mean, obviously, because
mhm.
it was happening to you, but like I also, it's like it's that's really fucked up line as far as I'm concerned. Because when you're making people doubt their own sanity, that's a
Yeah,
whole other fucking ball game.
yeah,
Like truly,
yeah, yeah.
and I guess because
It's a,
especially in those interpersonal relationships, when trust is such a big component of those things.
yeah. And then I've had people that like would tell these fantastical stories, and I'd be like, there's no way that's fucking true. And then it
Yeah,
would be. And I'd be like, oh, you just have that kind of life where
yeah,
like, you know,
like my Carl Urban story, which is real.
yes,
Yeah.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
Well, it's like I think how you can tell, like I do have some pretty great stories, but how you can tell, I think, is because I don't really tell them too often. I'm not really like, here's me, here's my life,
No,
but like
no.
every now and again I just drop stories and Beth's like, what?
You
What
what? And
happened?
you're like, oh, I didn't
Seriously?
tell you this. I'm like,
Yeah.
no.
Yeah. I'm like, oh yeah, this thing happened that time. Yeah, I guess.
Yeah,
Um, but like it's so but the other thing, and it was in that sort of vein, and like and the only one that I remembered when I was thinking about it was here, I'll get to my question first, was that can you remember any sort of big lies that you've told in your life? And when I thought about this, I couldn't think of any big ones I've told in my adult years. It's There probably is some, but I can't remember. But I remember like as a kid, and I have such a clear memory of this, like, and I must have been quite young, like primary school age, so maybe 10, maybe 9, maybe 10. and kids in my school, and I think it must have been some topic in school, and we were talking about ghosts and things like that. A lot of the kids were telling like ghost stories, and I remember making up a ghost story and like talk. I
You're
I,
like,
I
this
remember
happened.
clearly saying that like how lame this is. A tissue came up out of a tissue box and like floated across the room,
That's so cute.
isn't it? So that's the one that really came to mind when I was like thinking
And its
about
name
it,
was Zero.
and his name was Zero. Yeah. So yeah, that was the one that occurred to me when I was
I
digging through my
had,
brain.
I will say the one I felt really bad about, because I think I was in like middle school. So it was probably like 10, 11. And my friend, I was at my friend's house and their neighbor could drive and was
Hmm.
like, "Oh, I'll drive you guys," or like, "I'll drive you guys to the store." And my friend was like, "Oh yeah, and you do you want to sleep over?" And I was like, "Sure." And he was like, "Well, I can drive you over to your house to get your like sleepover stuff." And I was like, "Okay," knowing that my parents would not be okay with me like driving around with some random high schooler,
Yeah.
right? That they don't know. And so I had them park down the street and I was like, "I'm gonna get my stuff," and like, "Oh yeah," like my parents could obviously see I was lying
Yeah.
because I can't lie very well
Yeah.
without
I'm the same.
being completely obvious. So I was like, "Bye," and my dad was like, "I'll walk you to the car," and I was like, "Fuck," and like he walked me to the car and he's like, "Who are you?" And I was like totally in trouble. And I was like crying, and it was embarrassing because all my friends were in the car, and like this older dude, like that was driving. And so my dad's like, "I will drive you back over there. Like, you can spend the night, but like, we're going to have a serious conversation about this." And I was like devastated. It was just
Yeah. I like,
devastating.
there's no way you were
That
enjoying
was
that
a
night.
no,
No.
no, and he knew it too. I
Yeah.
was like, yeah. And here I am,
Yep.
45 or 44, like retelling this story that I'm still like, I feel so bad about
Oh,
it.
so yeah. And this is the thing. And like, and I think that's probably true for both of us. Like, and one of the reasons why I don't like, as I say, white lies here and there to protect myself, but like by and large,
Yeah,
I do feel awful lying to people, like, and
I
especially
do
on
too.
big things. So it's just like I
It's the
wouldn't,
worst.
yeah. And it's also, very much my attitude as I've gotten older in life is to treat people the way I want to be treated, and I don't really want people lying to me very much.
Yeah,
So yeah, I think that's informed a lot of sort of my behavior in my adult life, I think.
same. Yeah, I like, you know, there are lots of ways that you could look at this and think about it, but I kind of think of lying in a pretty black and white way,
Hmm.
like it's the truth or it isn't. But then it's like, what's truth and what's like when
Yeah,
you and I'm not going to go down that road too far. Um, but I think it's like truth is what you like if it feels wrong in your stomach, it's probably not, you know,
that's a good
it's probably
guide, I
yeah,
think. Yeah,
yeah.
I like that. Yeah, yeah. If you're starting to feel dodgy about it, then yeah, it's not the thing to do. Yeah,
Hmm.
I like that.
Um, what's one of the worst lies you were ever told?
That I was ever told?
Yeah.
Oh, I may need to think about that.
Okay.
I suppose, and you were talking about a relationship. I think I felt like in sort of one of my past relationships being told not just um being downplayed in terms of like things that were happening that I could clearly see were happening, being told that they weren't happening. And it was very damaging to kind of like my self-esteem and kind of mental health, I think. I struggle to think of like pinpoint anything in particular, but like there was just a load of stuff that really kind of undermined, you know, who I am, I think. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Mine is silly. Not really.
Right.
But I just found out the truth like last year, I
Uh-huh.
think, or the year before. And I think I told you the story, probably off pod, but I had a rabbit as a kid.
Hmm.
We went on
Oh yeah.
vacation and the neighbors took the rabbit and were taking care of it. And then I was like, oh, I miss Sugar, the bunny. And my mom was like, oh, honey, I have to tell you something. And I was like, what? And she's like, Sugar ran away. She hopped down the stairs and she ran away while we were gone. And I was just like hysterical and crying. And I've carried that truth with me up until like a couple of years ago. And I was talking to my mom about it, and she was like, that's what I told you. And I was like, yeah. What happened to Sugar? And she's like, oh, their dogs ate her and tore her apart. I was like, oh my God.
I don't think I knew that. That's wild.
Yes.
Wow.
So that's how my bunny died when I was a
I
kid.
I think that is the most common like big lie the kids get told with pets because I had a friend recently and it was she was talking to her mom and her mom just let slip they were talking about one of their dogs and they'd said I think they had to let him they had to go and get him to put to sleep because he was injured and she let slip that he got hit by a car out the front of their house and they never told the kids and it was like okay and it's just that said you know whenever that dog got hit by the car and it's like wait what and it's like
Yeah.
yeah yep
Yeah.
but that's
Yep.
wild. That's
Yeah.
wild. That's
Yeah.
yeah, I can
And now
understand.
I'm like, what else don't I know?
Yeah. Hey, that's I feel like that if there's time to deploy a lie, you don't want to be a
Uh-huh.
child.
Uh-huh.
So you know
Uh-huh.
your best friend Rabbit. He was
Uh-huh.
torn apart by dogs. No.
Still scarred.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, but yeah, I think that was good. I think it might be a good way to kind of wrap things up, unless you've got anything
Yeah.
else.
I
Um,
think this is a topic I would like to revisit
Me
in a
too.
little while because like I feel like we got to this. There's more. There's
There
more
is,
here.
there is. But I
Yeah.
thought that was good.
Yeah.
I'm glad we decided to talk about it because I think it was an interesting chat. Um, yeah, absolutely. I'd love to get back to it. And I'd love to also hear any listeners' thoughts as well and that sort of thing. You know, it's
Hmm.
such a like volatile subject, I think, in a lot of ways, you know,
It's
and I feel like people have strong feelings
definitely
about it, you know.
it's fraught. It's fraught.
It is. It is.
Yeah.
But yeah. But let's turn from lies to joy, shall we?
That
So I've
was
got
on a silver platter. Good job,
right, right.
Andy.
Oh yeah. What a transition,
Uh,
even if I do say so myself. So what's been
I
bringing you
know.
joy this week?
So it was, I don't know if I'm sure it was for you too. It's the same all over the world. It was summer solstice.
Yeah.
So on what, Thursday?
Hmm.
And I had a friend visiting from San Francisco who's super into astrology and was like, it's solstice, it's full moon. So we had like a whole like solstice day
Hmm.
where we just like were in the sun and like, splashing around the pool and listening to music and taking walks. And then the area that we live, there's no like street lights or anything, so it gets dark, dark.
Yeah.
So we just sat out and watched the stars come out and the full moon and the bats came out and we just put a new pool light in. So it's like purple pool and you could see the bats like flying down and like skimming and like getting a little drink of water, like eating a bug. And it was lovely. So
That sounds
that,
cool.
yeah, it was nice.
That's a good one. I
Happy
love it.
solstice.
Yeah, have solstice indeed.
It's
Yeah,
gonna start getting dark.
I know. I know we're gonna have to deal with 10 p.m.
I know, right?
darkness in a week or two. Ugh, gross. Um, so like this over the past week I guess I have been two different things so like they're both kind of shows but I want to talk to them about them.
Mm.
So one is well, one's a movie, one's a show, but one is an anime I've started watching called Delicious in Dungeon, which I've only seen a few episodes. I love it already. It's essentially the setup is that it's a kind of adventuring party that I keep going into
What's
this
it
dungeon.
called?
Delicious in Dungeon. And it's about this adventuring party that need to go on an adventure into this dungeon, but they have no money. So they decide what they're going to do is fight and cook monsters. And that is it. And you know, I love food, and the whole thing is so funny. They meet this dwarf who's like an expert in cooking monsters, and like he just kind of like then they just go on this adventure together. And it's like it's a comedy, you know, it is. It's a funny sort of anime, but it just immediately was just like it hit me perfectly. It was exactly the sort of thing that I kind of love, you know, it just tickled me
Good.
immediately. The Sorry, we gonna
No, I
say?
was laughing.
Okay, so the next one was, and I've
You're like
rewatched,
cooking and eating monsters. You know I love eating and
right?
food. Like you.
And this is the thing. This is why it does so well because like one of the parties like this is horrifying. Why are you doing this? And everybody else is like, actually, this is really good. It's very well done. Very funny.
Okay.
Um, the other one was, and I might have talked to you about this before, was I rewatched Godzilla minus one
Mm.
during the week there, and I love that movie so much. One of our listeners had been talking about rewatching or watching it for the first time and loving it. And I rewatched it and just I don't know. It's like, I've heard some dissenting views, some people who don't like it, but to me, it's kind of really incredible that they managed to have something that is both like it's very much about post-war Japan, and it's about grief and it's about guilt. And like it really hits those themes hard and well, but also really satisfying as like a big monster movie, and like I feel like marrying those two things together is very, very difficult, and they did such a good job with it. It
Hmm.
feels like a kind of minor wonder, honestly, that they kind of put those things together in such a kind of neat way. But yeah, it was excellent.
I don't think I've ever seen it, so I'm gonna have to watch it.
Yeah, it only came out like late last year, so like it's a real good one. Like, and and I compare this as I think I may have mentioned this to you before. Like this, this has some great, guess say action, but like great sort of like human moments as well. Whereas like the most recent Hollywood Godzilla movie had Godzilla suplexing King Kong onto a pyramid. They're very different things, right?
Like in Egypt?
Yeah, yes.
Wow.
Like, don't get me wrong, that
I'm like
ruled.
eye rolling with my voice.
Like that was probably the best bit of that movie. I was like,
Did he
if it
do
was
it with his giant fake arm?
basically no, yes, he did have a strap fake arm in that. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay, okay, okay. Yeah, there you
So
go.
yeah, great fun.
It's so good.
But yeah, so that's what's been bringing me joy this week. But yeah, so I think we're all done. Beth, do you want to let people know where they can find us?
Yes. So please check out our merch.
Yeah,
And if you want to let us know what your thoughts on Lang are, we've got a comment page on the website. You can find us at bendypodcast.com. And as always, we love hearing from our listeners. So feedback is
definitely.
awesome
Yeah,
for those of you who choose to.
awesome. All right, folks. Well, thank you for joining us all as always. So we would like to remind you, as always, to stay bendy.
Bendy.
Flawless.
I think I
Flawless.
won. Flawless. I always think of you with your space buns. Gorgeous.
Exactly. All right. We love you, everyone. Bye
Love
bye.
you. Bye, bye, bye. Like that's one that when I want to laugh, I do. I go now. I'm starting to go back to like the ones that I know are super funny on
Uh-huh.
YouTube, and I find it, and I'm like, ah,
Was
gorgeous.
one of the the gorgeous one? All right. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure what that clip was exactly, but yeah, I get you. Hold on.
Uh,
Episode 39.
Episode 39.
I know.
Export.
Holy shit, about 40 episodes recorded as of this evening.
I know.
Absolutely wild.
For people that are afraid of commitment and doing things, like
Right?
we're doing
Go us.
awesome.
We really are.